And if you thought that was shameless, the couple's eco-hypocrisy was also on full display as they rode into battle on a gas-guzzling private jet, a far cry from the depiction of their difficult lives seen in the trailer for their new Netflix reality show released on Thursday.
It's really hard to look back on it now and go, what on earth happened?
You hear that? That is the sound of hearts breaking all around the world.
She's becoming a royal rock star.
And then...
OK, so let me get this straight. According to Harry and Meghan, we all turned on Harry and Meghan at the click of a finger. Nothing, of course, to do with the substantial bullying allegations made against Meghan from royal courtiers, as well as the telling statistic that the Sussexes have lost at least 14 employees since their marriage in 2018. The exodus was made worse this week, with 2 of their staffers departing from the Jerry Archewell project, including the executive in charge of Meghan's podcast. I guess you can't really blame her, can you? But anyway, to separate the fact from the Montecito fiction, I mean, Meghan, this trailer presents a narrative that takes into account nothing of how Harry and Meghan actually acted when they entered the royal family after their marriage.
Yeah, and actually goes so far as to suggest what caused that change in a snap from her being, in her words, in the trailer's word, a rock star, to being loathed. And the trailer posits it's race. It was race. Well, that makes no sense, because when they got married in May of 18, the British public adored them. And guess what? They knew by then that she was of mixed race. Same with the American population. I was there. I was over with you guys across the pond covering this wedding. Dan, would you believe it? I actually bought yours truly. I actually brought this little memento home, the Harry and Meghan wedding mug. We loved her. We loved them. So it is a lie to suggest it had anything to do with her race.
No, Meghan,
you don't switch on a dime.
And I can vouch for you. I can vouch for you because I was on, you remember you were with NBC at that time, and I was on that incredible huge studio that you had opposite Windsor Castle for one of your shows just before the wedding. And you were loving this. You were loving it.
Yes.
And, you know, at that point, so was I. And I wrote column after column praising what a breath of fresh air this woman was going to be. I encouraged her to keep acting, keep doing her thing. But, Meghan, I'll tell you what won't be covered in this documentary, the fact that it was the Queen herself who actually blew the whistle on Meghan's behaviour in the end. She called Harry in. She warned him that the way Meghan was treating her staff was completely inappropriate. We know now, of course, there was also a slew of bullying allegations. I have a feeling none of that's going to feature in the Netflix sham, is it?
Well, the bullying is amazing because I got to imagine that you get a job working directly for 2 senior royals and you're excited to have this job. It would take a lot to force you out of it. Her staff is running for the doors. It's like a Kardashian seeing a camera or a plastic surgeon. They can't get out fast enough. Let's go. She's lost 14 people in just a few years. I mean, listen, I launched my podcast 2 years ago. I've got about 11, 12 staffers. I've lost one in that time. That's more not. My staff has followed me from Fox News to NBC to now on my podcast. Abby, my assistant's been with me for 13 years. That's what's normal when you treat, and it's not because I'm not tough. Trust me, I'm tough. I raise the standard very high and I expect my people to meet it, but I do it lovingly like most bosses. I'm not unusual. She is. They're leaving her because she's nasty. She's mean. And by the way, it wasn't just the bullying that turned the public on her. That was part of it. But it was also the fact that, let's go back and look what started to happen. They couldn't get along with William and Kate, who already had a ton of goodwill with the British public. They had to get their own place at Frogmore Cottage because they needed to have their own special place paid for by the British taxpayer. The castle wasn't good enough for them. Then we saw the wedding, by the way, at which she had no family, no friends. It was only celebrities she did not know. Then more and more people started coming out of the woodwork and saying she abandoned them. She abandoned them. Once people could no longer do anything for her, she had no use for them. Then she got pregnant and they announced it at, I think, Beatrice's wedding, which was rude. Then they had the baby and they didn't want the British public to know. They didn't tell them until like 4 days later because all the people to whom they owed their castle and the cottage and all of these riches that they're adorned with, they weren't entitled to see the baby because of Princess Diana. Because Prince Harry, as this trailer also shows us, has an obsession with trying to make Meghan Markle into Princess Diana, and she's not. The British public remembers Princess Diana was killed because her driver got drunk and sped in the streets, and she was killed. It wasn't because the British press or the French press, the paparazzi did not kill Princess Diana. And the scenes of deception in their trailer, trying to make it look like Meghan Markle's under threat from the same deranged press, are equally dishonest, as I'm sure you've covered.
It's completely dishonest, Meghan. I mean, actually, Harry and Meghan could walk around the UK without being followed at all. There are actually laws in this country which I think are probably over the top and draconian, which means they are far more protected here than they'll be in any other country in the world, especially the US. So you're completely right. That is a lie.
You think about it, Dan. Okay, I realize that Netflix or the director put together the trailer, but Meghan and Harry would have approved it. So they saw those pictures and understood that they were being misused. Pictures from the Harry Potter premiere, pictures from a model's trial, pictures at Desmond Tutu's, all of which they either had nothing to do with or blessed themselves personally. They didn't care because she has a pattern of overstating the facts of adoration when it comes to her and overstating how much of a victim she is, right? Like, look what the lie she told about the cast in The Lion King, who allegedly said that when she married Harry, they celebrated in South Africa like they did when Mandela was free. Okay, sure they did. The lie about how baby Archie was almost killed in a fire when they were on tour, that was a lie too. Like, time and time again, she picks something, she aggrandizes it to make herself either look like the victim or like she's way more adored than she actually is. And this trailer is just the latest example.
Well, Meghan, I have to be honest, having got to know her family very well over the past few years, and by the way, a lot of people should have listened to the Markles, who were dismissed, by the way, to begin with, because they're a working-class American family, so they were dismissed. But if you listen to the Markles, if you listen to her father, her brother, her sister, actually, it's very easy to come to the conclusion, and I think I have come to this conclusion, that Meghan Markle has been a compulsive liar now for many, many years.
They were right. They listened. We should have listened because they were right. The sister who was so dismissed is like, as you point out, like working class, whatever. And that's thanks to Meghan. Did Meghan ever defend her? Ever? Did she defend her dad? No, she let him take the beating in the press to the point where he felt he had to pull that paparazzi stunt, as the poor guy was not seasoned in dealing with the press, and she let him twist in the wind. And there's a reason nobody who knew her was actually at her wedding, other than her mother. No one wanted to be there, and she didn't want anybody to be there because they probably knew a lot more about her. That's why we got George Clooney and people like Oprah, who had absolutely nothing to say about her other than they want something from her.